What up, my dum?
Dumb dudes, deep thoughts. Here we go.
Dumb dudes, deep thoughts, 3DT
3DT. What you got? What you got for us today?
coming at ya. Man, we've had some pretty good conversations lately, and
Yeah.
I'm excited about a few different topics. But one of them that we had discussed was, the challenge of doing hard things in general, but the challenge of persevering through decisions we make to do things. Specifically, I'm talking about like skiing and taking the kids to go do fun stuff, go on adventures. And every time before we go up to the mountain, it's a little bit early of the morning, right? You wake your kids up a little early to get on the road to try to beat the vast majority of traffic and get up there as quickly as you can, get on the mountain and all that good stuff. Well, as an adult, and you wake up and the cost, the monetary cost and the emotional cost and all the setup, right? The night before, I'm putting the roof rack on, I'm loading the boards and the skis, I'm putting all the boots together. I got 3 different gear bags. I've broken out into like my gear bag, a girl's gear bag, so Erica and Maya's snowboarding gear bag with helmets on the side, gloves set up, everything, arranged just so that all they have to do is open it, pull it out. You get your helmet, your gloves, your goggles, all the stuff goes on. And then there's the boys bag, which is the ski stuff. And just ironically, I guess conveniently, coincidentally, both the boys ski. Maya decided she wanted to snowboard, so her and Erica snowboard, and then obviously I snowboard. But so you set all that stuff up. I put out all the jackets, all the clothes, put the kids' clothes out, the long underwear, like all of it, right? It's a whole ordeal.
Yeah.
And then we get up and inevitably, most likely it's Jakey, just such a grump, man. The kids are grumps. I don't want to get up. I'm like, I'm taking your ungrateful butt skiing. We're going to a mountain to do something fun.
People pay
Like
lots of money to
lots
go
of
do this.
money. Stop complaining. And then, and here in Colorado, if you leave my house at 6:45, most likely you're in the mountain in an hour. You're to the lodge in an hour, and parking is fine.
Yeah.
If you leave at 7 o'clock, if you leave 15 minutes later, you will be in traffic for 2 hours on a Sunday. You
Yeah.
will be in traffic for 2 hours if you leave at 7 o'clock. And then traffic or parking becomes a whole other issue. And
Gotta
it's
walk
just,
forever to get to
oh,
this
dude,
to the gondola.
all the things exponentially climb on the pain factor.
Yeah.
But yet the important part of it is we choose to do it. We still choose to do it. And my wife, the other day, we're sitting in this 2 hour track because we left 15.
Yeah. You didn't leave at 6:45, did you?
No, we did not leave. Come on, dude. That's a dumb question. So we leave at 7:15. We're in traffic and we're, going up, kind of peeking over the hills to get into the mountains. And I'm like, dude, let's just turn around. Like
Kids are grumpy. You're
kids are
grumpy.
grumpy. I got grumpy because I'm looking at the time. It climbed to 2 hours. I'm like, we're gonna get there at and we had to leave. We want to leave at 1. So we knew the end time was 1. So I'm like, we're gonna get there at like 9:30, 10 o'clock. We're gonna get the gear on. We're gonna be on the mountain by 11. We're gonna hit 2 runs, and then we're gonna get in the car and go home.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna do. And is it worth it to me? And I guess there's a couple lessons here. The first lesson is, yes, we're going to push through. We committed to it. We're going to do it. I'm not going to let my kids see us turn around and quit when we're going to go do something amazing. Actually, there's 3 things that pop into my head. So that's the first one. We're going to do this. We're going to push through. And even if I'm in a bad attitude, and Erica, to her credit, was so positive, and she was a lifesaver. And that's the second point that pops in my head is when you have an amazing accountability partner, whatever it is, business partner, or somebody that can take you from your funk and you're maybe not the best place, not when you're bringing your A game, and they can bring you out of that and bring you up into it. Not they choose not to go down into the depths with you and just sit there and wallow. They choose to pull you out. Well, that was Erica's role this particular weekend, which was last weekend. She stayed positive the whole time. She did not allow me to bring her down. She didn't allow the kids to bring her down. And so her accountability and her role and her partnership in that experience was formative, and it changed the whole dynamic. And it made me choose to have to be better. I'm like, well, I look at my wife and I'm like, she's being better than I am right now.
Yeah.
And I could choose to be a turd and not rise up to her level, or I can join her. And I ended up joining her. So I'm thankful to God for her, for her already, but her role in that, because she could have chosen to have a different attitude. And then the third lesson is when we did it, even though we got 2 or 3 runs in, whatever it was, and no, I had to go poop twice and this and that and the other, you take it, like all this stuff, dude, like all this stuff
Yeah.
that goes with that. We had a blast.
Yeah.
We had a blast. Maya was doing her turns. Jake is flying down the mountain like a madman, going up into the trees, making me have a heart attack. And Noah's just, plugging along. And they had fun and they're smiling. And we did it as a family, and it was beautiful and it was great. And we'll do it again. And the next time we do it, which is probably going to be this upcoming weekend, it's going to be just as painful, dude.
Yeah.
It's going to be just as painful.
And it's going to happen just the same.
It's going to happen the same. But are we going to choose to push through? And are we going to get the reward of the laughter and the fun? I mean, we're snowboarding, dude. Like, we're in the beautiful Rocky Mountains snowboarding. Like that in and of itself is a gift from God.
Yeah.
So are we going to enjoy that?
People pay a lot of money to fly in, spend a ton of money on staying in place, buying lift tickets, all this stuff, all the time. Right. And we get to do it on a regular basis, which is pretty rad.
Yeah, dude, I get in my car and it's 50 miles away to a world-class resorts. Like, it's kind of hard to, when you contextualize it like that, it's kind of hard to complain and not recognize your blessings. So it was awesome. And it was time that my family, all those lessons were, and it's not lost on them, right? We talked to them about those things. We talked to them through it. It's not lost on them. And hopefully as they continue to grow, it builds resiliency and a desire to do hard things and go on adventures.
Well, all of those lessons are choices, right? I mean, you can choose to be positive or negative towards a situation. You started out choosing to be negative, but your wife, who's always better than you at pretty much everything, chose to be positive and brought you up. So, I mean, you have the option to choose whether you're going to be positive or negative towards the situation. You have the choice to decide to push through this hard time to get to the top of this mountain, or turn around and go home.
And then you're going to be miserable, right? Like, if we would have turned around, like the whole day, I would have been like, oh, we should have gone. We should, like, how many times do we do that? I should have.
Yeah. Then regret comes into play.
Right. And no time when we were on the mountain was I like, oh, I should have turned around. Like, no, that thought didn't even cross my mind. What the thought that crossed my mind was, I'm so glad we pushed through. Like, you don't regret it when you get to the peak, even if it takes you to another valley, a valley to go to another peak. It doesn't, you don't regret that. You don't regret that accomplishment or the experiences. And I love, one thing that you said that reminded me of one of my favorite things from Rick Warren. He said, you can know for a fact that your attitude is your choice when you're in a fight with your wife or your kids. You get everybody's and everybody's fighting and everybody's terrible. And then the doorbell rings or the phone rings, right?
Yeah.
And then everybody stops. You're like, hello. Oh, how are you? And you immediately choose to change. You immediately have put on a totally different attitude, totally different face, because you're not going to answer the door and be like, what do you want, you person that wants to come over and have fun? Or like, no, you totally change everything. And so it shows you very tangibly that it is 1000% in your control, the mood that you choose to do. We just choose wrongly, a lot of the time.
Yeah. Well, and this can be, this could equate to just life in general, business, real estate, stock markets, money, like, all of these things. I'm actually in the middle of a book called The Psychology of Money. It's really good. And it talks a lot about, like, the mindset behind money and where your mindset comes from and how you look at money, how you, use money, how you treat money. And there's one section he talks about that equates very similar to this story of most businesses, most people, most successful people have gone through troughs, right? Like, you've gone through tough times, and the ones that succeed, that get to the top of the mountain, push through, right? I mean, he showed a graph of the stock market for like the last 170 years, 200 years, something like that. And the trajectory in general of that stock market is up. Like it's a line up, but there's lots of ups and downs throughout that cycle in the stock market. There's lots of, the Great Depression and, huge companies going under, tons of, wars and people dying and like, tons of stuff that has made an impact on that stock market. And a lot of people quit, right? A lot of people, when that happens, they turn around on the street and go home because it was hard, or you were scared that you're going to lose all your money. But the ones that have been successful kept on going. I kept on pushing, and we've seen that in our own business. Like we've had quite a few hard times in our real estate business, and it's an interesting concept because there are lots of times, like honestly, like your situation of taking the kids to the mountain on a Sunday, like we don't even start. like, like we don't even go, dude. Like we don't even pack up because we know it's going to be hard, so we just choose not to go. But maybe we need to start looking at it a little differently. So I love it, man. It's super good lesson. Multiple lessons in that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because a lot of times it is easier to not even start.
Yeah.
And like this weekend, for example, we didn't go. And I, to be honest, I think I made a number of excuses because it's one of the things that we're committed. We want to be committed to go like every weekend.
Yeah.
And typically the way that works out is Sundays, which is notoriously the worst day to go up to the mountains, to go up and to come back.
Yeah.
But just based on kids' sports and all that kind of stuff. So we know every single week it's going to be a chore. It's going to be a challenge. But we want to make a commitment to give our kids experience because like for you and I, right, we're going tomorrow, super excited. And when you become an adult, when you become proficient at whatever it is, snowboarding, skiing, like you realize how much fun it is and what a treat it is to be able to do it. And like anything when you start, it's hard, right? Like Maya's constantly, she in particular, because I think snowboarding is harder to pick up.
Yeah.
Skiing is a lot easier to pick up, but and then skiing is a lot harder to get really good at. And snowboarding is, kind of the opposite. But that being said, it's, trying to push for her too, to push through the difficulty of learning, the pain, dude. It's painful, man. You fall on your butt, you fall on your wrist, you fall on her friend just broke her elbow, like another 10-year-old girl, like broke her elbow. Like it's tough. But if you don't do it, then, like for us, when we go now, like, it's just pure joy. It's just fun. Like I'm really excited about tomorrow because it's going to be a fun adult snowboard day, but we're just going to have some really good fellowship and are going to have a board meeting up there. And so you want that for your kids. And so you have to go, but you have to go through those.
You have to go
those things. You have to do it, right? You're not just going to show up one day and know how to do it.
Yeah.
And so I think, I just think there is so many lessons in those things and pushing through. And it's just really the biggest part about it. Like we always preach, is just taking action. It's just doing it. Like there's no easy way around it. There's
packing up the car, getting the grumpy kids in there.
It's
and
it.
Going.
It's and that's everything, right?
Right. I mean, I envision my family all up on the mountain, skiing, snowboarding together and having a blast. But that doesn't happen unless we actually get them in the car and teach them how to ski and snowboard and go through the hard lessons. And
it's frustrating, dude. It's frustrating, man.
Yeah.
Like we've gone up now 5, 6, however many times it's been, and it's a slog, but now it's starting to come together.
Right.
And it's building blocks, just like anything. We're looking at that on our business. Like I've come to the realization, our first Colorado deal is just going to be our first Colorado deal. We're just going to have to do it. Yeah. Like that's all there is to it. We're just going to have to do it. Like, it's not going to be a perfect deal. It's not Milwaukee. It's, yep. The market's different. Cool. Check. Market's different. We just have to do a deal, and how that deal turns out, but what always happens is you go through the slog. That deal, may suck, may be awesome, whatever, doesn't really matter, but that's going to open other opportunities. And that's just going to be the way it's going to be. But if, I hit up a dude the other day, the title of his email to me was analysis paralysis. This guy's been talking about doing a deal for years. And I
Yeah.
said, okay, here's an easy entrance. Just give me your money. Just give me your money. I'll give you a return. Like, but you're taking action. It even that will give you a sense of taking action and doing something about it. But if you don't ever do anything about it, it just we're gonna go nowhere, right?
Yep.
And so I think that's in everything, man. And if it's easy, it's not worth it, right? I enjoy snowboarding so much now. I love fly fishing. It took forever to be even proficient. It's hard. You end up on the side, like every time you take someone new, like, dude, like I know when I take somebody new and I'm fishing and I turn around and I look at them and they're sitting on a rock, I know exactly what they're doing, dude. They did something, their whole line turned into a ball.
Yeah.
And they're sitting there trying to untie a knot, or they're tied up in a tree because on their back cast they hooked a leaf. Well, it sucks, dude. But you got to get through that. Yeah, no, never. But you have to get through that to get the line in the water, to get a fish to grab it, and then there's nothing like it, right? And so I think all these things, man, if it's easy, it's not for me. That's why I'm your friend, right? Because being friends with you sucks, dude. Like being friends with you is like a freaking slog. It's like a job that I feel I should get paid for, and it's terrible, but it's so rewarding, Stuart. That's so rewarding.
All right, another episode of Dum Dudes Deep Thoughts 3DT.
Dum Dudes Deep Thoughts.
Go do hard things.
Don't be dumb.
Don't be dumb.
Unless being dumb makes you deep. Write that down.
See ya.
See ya.